Good morning, sports fans from all around the globe. I am your host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is your breakfast bankroll for Wednesday, March 23rd, 2022. One more day before the madness begins again. Sweet 16, Elite 8 this weekend. Shout out to all our loyal followers, Mr. Lucky, follow Fade himself, Billy Cullen, Marty Lowe, who just sent me an update that it looks like Kansas City might be shopping Tyreek Hill, which would be very interesting. Thank you, Marty. All our Twitch, YouTube followers, thank you. Anyone watching and listening right this second that is not a subscriber, please run over to YouTube at East Coast Sports Investors. Hit the subscribe button, turn on the notifications. It's free. Tell a friend, tell your neighbor, tell everyone who wants to listen. The more the merrier here. Yesterday, the VIPs 1-1, kind of comical. A couple of weeks ago, we went against the Rangers. They jump out to a 2-0 lead with one of the best goalies in the game. And next thing you know, he has a bad period, and we go off and cash a ticket. Yesterday, exact same thing. Unfortunately, we were on the Rangers up 2-0, and he gives up a 5 spot in the second. And the Rangers go on to lose 7-4. We were on the Stars last night. Great third period, great finish. So we end up 1-1. We lose about 40 cents in juice. Currently this week, 3-1 plus 2.03 units for the week, and 14-5 our last 19 games. So having a nice little run here. Comical. Told a few people, tell you guys here. Did some overnight MLB spring training, Cactus and Grapefruit League. 3-team parlay, 3 games that moved a ton overnight, and it won. It's amazing. I'm 3-0 in Major League spring training as Scott rolls his eyes. And Lucky says, I'm heading to the psychiatrist, trust me, the rubber room and all that. But I was just testing the eyes, and the eyes were spot on. But with that said, let's bring on my co-host from the Palm Tree State himself, the one, the only, Mr. Scott E. Webb. Good morning, Scotty.
Morning, Jeff. Looks like you've been in the Arizona sun too long out there playing preseason baseball games. What the hell's the matter with you?
Well, here's the deal. I use 5 different sites, and what ended up happening was on one of the sites there was 50-cent moves on all 3 games, and so I just said, for poops and giggles, I'll follow the moves. So I went to the across the street is the South Point, and as I was gathering up the day sheets and stuff, I was like, you know what? We had a good day. The day before, we had a great week. Let's throw a 50 spot on a little beer and pizza money on a 3-team parlay. It paid $230. The first 2 games boxed the wire. The Jays and now I already got a brain cramp. The second game was boxed the wire, and then Cardinals. Yeah, here's the funny one, Scott. We got the White Sox up 4-0. Then it's 4-2. Then it's 4-3. We go back over to the South Point, and of course, the Brewers got first and third, 1 out, bottom of the 8th, and they hit into a double play. Thank God. So now whoever I forget, Clinch, whatever his name was closing the game for the White Sox. 2 out, no men on, Scotty. Hit by pitch. Now, I'm just saying, this isn't going to end well. Here we go. And then a flare to left field, and it's first and third, 2 outs. And I'm like, okay, stole second base, runner indifference, second and third, 2 outs, called third strike. So we win and we cash. But I was thinking of everyone here like, what are you doing betting spring training? And I know you're not supposed to. I was just having a little fun to see where the eyes were. And as our buddy Billy Hewlin would say, I'm going to pay to find out. And I did, and it came through.
Well, having fun is one thing. Having action on those games let's just say this way: having fun on those exhibitions is one thing, but trying to actually make money is another. And I would just tell you, because I've been there, been in a dugout. I know what they're doing. They're not trying to win those games. So if they win, they win. They don't care. Now I will tell you that there's times, just like in preseason football games, those coaches matter. And when you're handicapping an NFL preseason football game, it is an exhibition. But some of those guys want to win every time they're out there. I look at John Harbaugh and his record when it comes to preseason football games. He don't want to lose no games. And there's good likelihood he's going to win and cover every single game he plays. So especially in the preseason, it's going against somebody that don't care they're even out there. So I think that you could probably find that in Major League Baseball too, especially with new managers or young teams or whatever, especially veteran teams that they don't care. They're just trying to work on shit. So there's edges to be found. However, I'm not going to go that deep to try to find that stuff. And it's I think they're probably more one-offs than they are anything else. And I was doing some research, and I'm always reading about baseball, and it looks to me like a lot of these, I shouldn't say a lot, that's not the right way to say it. A couple of these managers have already come out and said, look, the opening day, they're only going to go 65 pitches. So if they only go 65 pitches, you're talking 5 innings. And I get it. That's not the worst thing in the world. But if that's the case, my strategy on the first week of baseball is going to be, if I want a side, I'm probably going to be playing first fives even right away. And I never do that. I never do first fives right away. But I probably will this year.
I'll give you the all-time classic spring training, and then we'll get off spring training. I was at Caesar's Palace, I don't know how many years ago. Had the final leg, and again, I wouldn't bet these games individually. Whatever I see on the board, I'll just sprinkle on a parlay. It is what it is. Final leg of a 4- or 5-legged parlay, Scotty. Astros up 8-0, bottom of the ninth, and Dotel came in. And he was just working on one pitch that day. I don't know if it was a off-speed pitch, whatever the damn pitch was. That was the only pitch he threw. That was the only pitch he was going to throw. And the bullpen's cleared. This was it. Last inning, you win or we lose. Gave up 9 runs. He got 1 out.
Well, that's what they do. I mean, that's what it's for. It's 100% designed to work on whatever it is you're trying to do. And if you're trying to work on a secondary pitch, you might throw that every single pitch. If you've got a 98-mile-an-hour fastball and you want to work on, a changeup, and you're throwing a changeup every single pitch, you're not fooling hitters, but you're doing what it is you wanted to do for that particular outing. So I think that changes as they get closer to the start date too. They want to feel good. They want all their pitches working, so they're going to pitch a little bit more normal as the season of spring training winds down. So I've always thought if you really wanted to play spring training games, you play them in the last week.
Agreed. I'm going to flip the switch and basically give you the floor here. Anything in MLB that's piquing your interest. And again, I follow, anyone following you on Twitter, you put out a boatload of information yesterday. You're working real hard behind the scenes, getting ready for that first pitch on the 5th. Any breaking news, anything you're seeing, any numbers down or whatever? The stage is yours, sir.
Yeah, I was looking at a couple of things, and let me see if I can find it real quick and pull it up. There's one thing that I think I don't know if you follow it, Jeff, or not, but yeah, if there's a guy on Fangraphs, and he does a lot of research for you. It's always one of these things where you certainly want to You want to go in and you want to read and find as much information as you can about a lot of different things. And one of the things I've noted many, many times is try to find pitchers that went to camps, because they work on stuff and they get better and they do different things. And then hitters do the same thing. They work on their swings and they do different stuff. And you don't find that out except by following the news reporters and the guys like that, because they're having those conversations with those players and they let them know, hey, I'm going to have a great season because this, that, and the other. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean they will, but the truth of the matter is, if you can validate what's going on with some of that stuff, you're going to be in good shape. So in other words, if a pitcher picks up three miles an hour in velocity, it's not because he just woke up and was able to throw 3 miles an hour better. It's because he worked on stuff. And there's Fangraphs does a thing, and you can just follow it. It's called Mining the News. And one of their guys goes out and he just reads and gets all the information he can. And I would say a couple times a week, he puts them in the article and he puts it all out there so that you can see some of the stuff. And when I was telling you, that I said, hey, some of these guys, the manager wise, decided they were only going to let them go, 65 pitches. That's where I got that information from. Francona was one of those guys. So if you're going to be betting Cleveland Indians, you want to make sure that you got Karonchik or whatever the hell his name is, and you want to make sure Case is close, whatever his name is, the closer. If you're going to play a full game, those guys got to be ready to go. Otherwise, you're going to want to play first fives in Indian games because they're not going to do that. But it was interesting to see some of the stuff that's out there. The Baltimore Orioles have Ryan Mountcastle, who's one of their better younger stars, and he's probably not an all-star kind of player, but he's a good player. And they were moving him around in the outfield some, trying to figure out, okay, is he going to be a first baseman and we're going to put him in the outfield? And they just decided, okay, we're going to shut him down in the outfield. He's going to play first base all the time. But it's interesting to see certain things like Luis Patino for the Tampa Bay Rays. He throws, almost 100 miles an hour. Well, all the damn Rays guys throw 100 miles an hour. But he's got 2 sliders, for God's sakes. And I'm like, what do you mean 2 sliders? You only have 1 slider. Well, evidently he throws, spin rates on sliders is what makes it move. So he has 2 different spin rates on sliders, and he's working on perfecting the movement of both of them so that he can throw one that does a little different than the other one. And I'm like, I never heard that before. So, just interesting things. I don't think any of this stuff is earth shattering. Alex Kirilloff is a guy you want to kind of know a little bit about. He's a young star for the Minnesota Twins, a big prospect. He had surgery in the offseason on his wrist, and evidently that didn't go so well. So he's still in recovery mode, not even 100% yet. So, that kind of stuff affects certain things. Maybe it affects, your DFS strategy or your fantasy leagues and stuff, maybe more so than it does betting on baseball games. But it is important to understand. Michael Kopech, here's one that is a big name for the White Sox because he's going to pitch. And I think he's going to be in their starting rotation, but he might not be right off the bat because they say he's 2 or 3 weeks behind because he had COVID. And he's tried to recover from COVID and he tried to do this and that. So he was in a spot where, it's one of those spots where, okay, they're letting him recover time and, stuff like that. Lucas Giolito, I guess, is throwing 96, 97 miles an hour now. My problem with some of that is I can't validate it. I'm doing these spring training velocity changes and stuff, and all the teams in the Grapefruit League I'm able to see all the information because StatCast is available for it. All the teams in the Cactus League, you can't see it. So evidently they don't have it, or they do have it and it's just not public. So it's kind of interesting to see those types of things. So I think it's important to really understand what you're looking at as a team breaks camp and then what it's going to look like 2-3 weeks into the season, because it might be a little different. Some of these guys are not going to play right away because they're babying them into the season, and then all of a sudden here they show up. That changes your strategy a little bit too, especially at the beginning. So you got to know who's playing, who's not playing, and know why. Because if they're injured, they might be out for 6 weeks. Shane Baz, for example, for the Rays. But anyway, nothing earth shattering, nothing crazy. I thought some of the stuff was interesting to figure out, what's going on. It's pretty clear in Mets camp, J.D. Davis is not going to get to play anywhere. He's probably not going to get many at-bats at all. So if you're a team looking for somebody like J.D. Davis, you could probably go get him relatively inexpensively. They have Dominic Smith there already, and they're got to figure out how they're going to get him in the lineup. And you can't have all of these guys. And J.D. Davis looks like the guy that's going to be the odd man out and not get many at bats there. So if you're interested in a guy like him, you could get him, because they got Eduardo Escobar now, who's going to play third base, and J.D. Davis is not. And with Cano and other players there, McNeil's going to play second base. They need to find Cano's bat in the lineup, so he'll be the DH more often than not. And then they'll probably have him platoon with Dominic Smith. And Dominic Smith, here's a good thing for people that don't know. I didn't know. It's not always public knowledge, but he played the whole season last year with a torn thing in his shoulder. So his numbers were way off. So maybe he has a big rebound type year, and that's another player on the Mets that can do well. So, but nothing crazy. Carter Kieboom, he is a big problem for the Nats. He's been their big guy that was supposed to be a superstar prospect, and he's going to be out for some time. He's got a flexor strain in his right forearm, and if pitchers get that, they got to rest for a long time. So I don't know how long he's going to be out, but they don't have a third baseman, so maybe they go get J.D. Davis. Maybe that's a right move for them. I don't know. They don't got nobody else to replace him at third base, so the Nats are in trouble in that spot. I wish the Nats had some more guys that could protect Soto in the lineup, but I guess they're just going to have to see if Josh Bell can do it or Nelly Cruz can do it. But I'm expecting a big season from him.
Good morning, Billy. Our brother Billy from Louisiana. Give him a big shout out. Good morning, sir. I have some breaking news from Shefty himself. Jets and Dolphins in serious talks for Tyreek Hill, per a league source. Hill and Chiefs are mulling what to do, but Hill's time in Kansas City looks like it could be coming to an end. Now, from a fantasy standpoint and standpoint only, Tyreek Hill on Kansas City, the quickest guy I probably have ever seen. He gets into open space. He's got a gear second to none. He makes Jerry Rice look like he's standing still at some points. It seemed Deebo Samuel get into that open space with that second gear. Tyreek Hill in the off the field and what he did and all that stuff. Listen, I get crushed when I applaud Hill for a great day in fantasy or something. The trolls come running out. How can you? Whatever. I'm not here to applaud Tyreek Hill, the human being. I'm just talking on fantasy here. I think the addition of Juju, some of the younger guys getting a little sharper. This is just my 2 cents. I don't have any information, but I think the Tyreek Hill show was starting to run its course in Kansas City. And I would just tell everyone who's listening here, wherever he goes, I think this guy's probably a walking time bomb. And if he ever got sent to the Jets, OMG, you thought AB was bad. Let me tell you what's coming there. But that's just my 2 cents. But look for a move. Hey, listen, if he gets to the Dolphins with Waddle on the other side, they just re-signed up Gesicki at tight end. I think that would be a hell of a spot for the Dolphins. But I just personally think he's a walking time bomb at this point in time in his career.
Yeah, I got a couple of things to say there. One, the NFL has proven time and time again, off the field incidents don't really matter unless you kill somebody. And I don't mean that in a mean way. I just mean that in a factual way. If you go kill somebody, they're not going to put you on the field. But if you go do anything else and you can play football, you're on the field. And I would almost tell you that Major League Baseball is getting to that kind of area as well. Look, these are professional athletes, and not all of them are great people. I've been around a lot of professional athletes, and I will tell you that the majority of professional athletes are the most gracious people you'll ever meet. They really are. I mean, they live a life that is unbelievable. That all being said, I don't worry about what people think of me and what my opinions are and that kind of stuff. So I just say whatever I feel like I can say. I try to be as factual as I can, and I try not to be too hurtful to what other people might think, because I try to guard against some of that stuff. But at the same time, I agree that I was going to compare him to AB, and you already brought it up. So I think the same way. I mean, this is just the same track and the same thing that he went through. But I will tell you, AB was a better player. He was a better receiver. He wasn't as fast, but he had more catches. He had more touchdowns. He had more everything than what Tyreek Hill has. That doesn't not mean he's not a useful player, but I think you described it perfectly. He's a walking time bomb. And I think that at some point in time, especially if you put him in a media where you're in New York and you got a lot of pressure to play for the Jets or whatever. And then secondly, if you have all the side tracks and excursions that can happen in Miami, those are a couple places that he could blow up pretty quickly and fairly easily. So it'd be interesting to see who does what and how and what they give up to get him. So it'd be interesting. I think that, it's just all of that's kind of interesting. Yesterday I put out all that stuff about the National League West. So I don't know. Maybe I'll put out something today on some other division or whatever, but the working through the divisions and all that stuff are pretty fun, and trying to compare teams and where they go and what they do, and go from there. But anyway, I guess that would be my two cents on the cheetah and what he's doing and all that stuff. I just wish he was taller. You know what? If he was taller, he could be, maybe one of the best wide receivers ever. But he's so versatile. I think that's what people like. He can do those reverses and fake reverses and return punts and kicks and whatever.
Get to the board today. I will just tell you, from last night to this morning, just the eye test for me, I don't see a lot. Now, that doesn't mean that doesn't change in the next 4 to 6 hours. There was nothing earth-shattering in the cactus or grapefruit league, so won't be tracking my wages today.
Well, I will tell you this. One thing that's going on in spring training games today, a lot of the guys are making their second starts today. So, they made their first starts, 4 or 5 days ago. So now they're getting their next start. So it'd be interesting to see if they build upon where they do, or if they fall back a little bit, if they get more pitches under their belt. But most of them threw pretty close to anywhere from 30, I would say from 30 to 40 pitches, 30 to 45 pitches in their first time out. So I would suspect that they're going to throw probably in the neighborhood of 50 pitches today, or most of them will. So that should get them through 3 or 4 innings today, comparative to what they're doing otherwise. So if you think about it from that perspective, you got starting pitchers going 4 innings roughly. That gets you almost through half the game. But if you remember, think about it this way. If you're a starting pitcher, the reason you're a starting pitcher is you're one of the best pitchers that team has. If you're a bullpen pitcher, you're not a starting pitcher because you're not one of the best 5 or 6 pitchers that they got, unless you're the closer that can throw 100 miles an hour. So the secondary best pitchers are the ones that come out of the bullpen. Your starting pitchers are the starting pitchers for a reason. And once they take them out, and especially in the preseason games, you can go from a 1-1 score to an 8-9 score pretty quick.
NBA today, anything jump off the board?
Well, yesterday I talked about that Denver Nuggets game that opened at 8, was bet down to 6.5 right away, and I think they won by 9. So that was one of the ones that was the only one that piqued my interest yesterday. But I do have 2 today that kind of piqued my interest. The first one is Golden State. Golden State's been playing a little bit better. Miami's been playing halfway decent, but they're I guess the best team in the East if you look at the record. But my number comes up, and I'm showing this to be more of a pick'em type game than a Miami -7 number. The game opened at -8. It's now Miami -7, but I'm all over Golden State here plus the 7 points. I mean, that's a lot to give them, and that's a lot to ask Miami to cover. Miami covers good teams when they're 5 or 4 or 5 or type point spreads. We're talking 7, 8, 9. They play a lot of closer type games, so I think that gives Golden State an advantage right there. Plus, when I'm looking at some of these numbers, especially in the last 2 weeks. Golden State is playing better defense, so they are 1% better than what the average defense is, and Miami's 1% worse. And then possessions and scoring, it's all about Golden State. They're 114, almost 115 points per 100 possessions, and Miami's 110. So there's 5 points difference pretty much just in how they run up and down the floor, but their possessions are the same. It's 97, 98. So, and then when one's playing a little better defense, you got to give the edge to that team. And that team is Golden State. It's not Miami. So I'm kind of good with Golden State plus the 7. And the other one, and I hate doing this because it always makes me nervous, but Boston's been playing so good. But I like Utah today plus the points in that one. They're getting that opened at 6. It's down to 5. I wouldn't take it lower than that. I would take Utah plus the 5. And again, my number comes to more pick-em-ish type scenario there. So I like that kind of those 2 games. I think you have two playoff teams that you can get at decent sized dogs, hoping that both win, but theoretically maybe you get a 1-1.
And where I'll go with the Utah-Boston game, the Celtics coming off an amazing road trip, first game back, and I always use the Bronx Zoo there, the weak legs of the athlete of getting back home to the kids, the wife, the girlfriends, and you used to always play against them on their first game back. So I like that thought process. The Brooklyn-Memphis game kind of caught my eye. Memphis opened up 1.5-point favorites. That flipped overnight there. So I was looking at that one too. But again, for me, the board initially, and again, we get so much time, it could change. Nothing's jumped out in the NIT today. A&M opened up 2.5-point favorites against Wake Forest. BYU opened up 2.5-point favorites against Washington State. NC Wilmington, Middle Tennessee State 4.5. We all know here, ask Billy about that NC Wilmington team, which is a cash cow. Fresno State, beat -13. See if we can get to some hockey. I'll just shout out loud. There was one small flip in spring training, Scott. Marlins opened at 110. Now Nats at -115. There, nothing major like yesterday. Like I said, there was about 3 30 to 50-cent moves. There's nothing like that today. In hockey, Toronto minus 320 against the Devils. No, thank you. Pittsburgh minus 225 at Buffalo. No, thanks. Colorado minus 265 at home against Vancouver. The only one that surprised me was Chicago Anaheim opened up a pick 'em. Now Anaheim minus 125. I'll keep an eye on that. Closing thoughts, Scott.
We're getting closer to where we need to go to get baseball going. There's still a couple of guys out there. You know, you got Tommy Pham, Michael Conforto. You still got some guys out there that can help your team. So I'm looking forward to seeing where these guys end up, and then just getting it going. I will also say, just like in preseason baseball, there's 162 games each one of these teams play. So there's going to be 1,500 betting opportunities just to pick the side in the game, let alone add that to the total and then the first five, and then you got thousands of betting opportunities to make. I would also say that the first week or the first 2 weeks of Major League Baseball, just be careful. You don't have to go out there and bet every game. You don't have to go out there and be, the smartest guy in the tool shed, because the truth of the matter is you don't know. You can sit here and do all these projections and look at all these different things, and you can do all this stuff. And I look at the Boston Red Sox and what Cora means to that team. And I mean that in a sense that he's a good manager that gets these guys playing well together. And that goes a long way, because if they cooperate and work together, then the offense flows a lot better than it does elsewise. I mean, look at the Yankees. That's two different strategies, two different styles, two different leadership things. Look at what Kevin Cash does in Tampa. And I heard an interesting thing yesterday, too. They were talking on the radio. Can't remember who it was. I think it was CJ Nikowski and somebody, major league pitchers. And they were doing a Rays preview because they're in camp, and they were talking to Fire Rising that they got from the Brewers last year. And they go, well, why are you having so much success with Tampa and you weren't with Milwaukee? And he goes, I wasn't doing well with Milwaukee. It's that when I came to the Rays wanted me to throw fastballs. And when I was in Milwaukee, they wanted me to mix things up and do different things and pitch. The Rays don't care about that. They wanted me for one thing. They want me to get infield pop-ups. They have found out that if I throw a ball at a certain speed in a certain place, I get infield pop-ups. And that's what they wanted. They wanted a pitcher to come in at a certain point in time in a game to get infield pop-ups. And I'm sitting here and I'm going, what the hell are you talking about? Because if you can get to the degree in which you have a pitcher that can come in a spot and get an infield pop-up, remember, think about that. If you got a guy on third base with less than 1 out or with 1 out, and you got a guy that can come in and get an infield pop-up, he ain't scoring. So then you just get the next guy out and it's over. And I think that really goes to the level and depth of what the Rays do and think about, and why a lot of times you think about them as being a very smart team, and they are. Don't get me wrong, they are. They're ahead of the curve in a lot of things. But I just found it interesting that was one of the comments and conversations that they were having was, I'm a pitcher that comes in and I get infield pop-ups. I'm like, what?
Well, don't forget, that's a team that developed their starting staff and their bullpen last year, where every pitcher released the ball from a different arm slot. They literally had the whole circle covered. So nothing surprises me from your Rays there. I'm going to piggyback off of you on the start of baseball season. It's like the start of any season. You do all the off-season work. You get your systems, your ideas, your thought processes all together, and then you start the season, and you come out of the gates 2-13. That doesn't mean all your work, the season's over, you scrap it. I'm done. I'm never betting baseball again. No, you have to tweak it. It doesn't mean it's wrong. It's just didn't come out of the gates the way you wanted it. So much happens to the novice, the average sports investor, wagerer, gambler, whatever you want to call yourself. They want that instant gratification. Okay. The saying that I'm going to wait till football because I know everything, and we do know three things in a football better. The three things are: A, you think you know everything; B, you know nothing; and C, you all have a favorite team, and you just walk to the window and follow your process, the public, whatever it is, it doesn't work. Okay. The same in any sport, the same in any start of the season, the same in baseball. Last year, we struggled early. Starting pitching wasn't working. The back ends weren't working. Our offense wasn't working. Our defense sucked, whatever it is. But we made adjustments. Next thing you know, 4, 5, 6 weeks in, we're crushing the first fives. So whether it's like you said, you start with the full games, or this year, because of what's going to happen, you might just go right into the first fives. Don't have to worry with the back ends. But it's all about adjustments. If you don't have the marathon approach, if you can't handle the day-to-day grind, the ups, the downs, the bad beats, hey, you forgot about the walk-off three and the win by the hook, but you remember the 5, 6, 7, 8 bad beats. This isn't.
I would just tell you, baseball, of all the sports, of all of them, it is a grind. It's every single day, all the time. It's a grind. But that's why it's fun. It's because and you can bet it so many different ways. I think, and this is my opinion, but I think baseball betting is getting more and more popular. I think that you're not going to hear. I guess what you're not going to hear from me a lot is the prop bets. I might get into that some this year, but you're not going to hear me talk about strikeout props that you hear on all these other shows by all these. I'll just say it. By all these people that think they know baseball, and they're the girls that go running around, and nothing against the girls. Don't take me wrong. But they don't know the game, but they think they know how to beat the props, and this guy's got this last three times he's pitched against this team, he's got 6 strikeouts, and he's got this going for him and that going, so we're going to go over 6 strikeouts today. Okay, that's one way to bet baseball. I mean, you can bet baseball on that. You can bet baseball on these guys that have hitting props. This guy's going to get total bases of X, Y, and Z. That's all well and good too. So I like the idea that people are betting baseball, but that's not really betting baseball. That's not. Baseball is about teams. It's about pitchers. It's about back ends and bullpens. It's about strategy of whether you're doing first fives, whether you're doing full games, whether you're doing the run line, whether you're doing a total. It's whether you're going to do a team. It's the whole gamut of things, and because you think you can do props on pitchers or props on a guy's going to get over 2 hits or something, that doesn't mean you're a baseball bettor.
All right, I'm going to be upfront and honest with everyone. In 1 hour and 12 minutes, myself and Andrew McGinnis will be on talking some NHL. We'll talk about his Vegas trip last weekend. He's back home. Glad to be back home, as he said. Great to visit, but glad to be back home. Myself and Scott, I am going to be an open book here. Having a hard time getting the closing bell in. It's really not a great slate tonight. I think if we have some earth-breaking, shattering news, we will try. Maybe I'll have to do it remote. Otherwise, myself and Scott together will probably most likely be back in the morning again. We're going to try to get off some of the divisions in baseball, get some of that out there. I got sheets upon sheets of futures, Cy Youngs, rookies of the year, you name it, I got it here, that me and Scott are going to devote to one day of just talking props, futures, and all that. But we promise you, We will have every division broke down. Scott has done all the work. He's got everything lined up. We're still waiting for a few more guys, as he said, to sign, but it's all systems go. We will not share the wealth here. So want to keep everyone on their toes there. So with that said, if anyone is wagering today, tonight, this afternoon, this morning, always, always, always do it responsibly. If you do have a problem, pick up the phone. Why? Because we care. Ask for help. There's an 800 number available. Myself and Scott want to see you here today, tomorrow, next week, next month, through 2022 and beyond. For myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest, from Scotty at Webby 20 MLB. We wish everyone a blessed morning and afternoon. The closing bell up in the air. If you need us, you know the drill. Find us on social media. We'll answer any question that you do have. To everyone watching today, our loyal listeners, Mr. Billy Hewlin, Mr. Follow Fade, Marty Lowe, and the rest, thank you, thank you, thank you. We couldn't do it without you. Have a great day, and we will see you soon.